Live from the apocalypse. That's right. Making sexy noises at all the wrong times. This is State of the Game. Um, and I am your profound narrator, a Bugatti of shit talking. You know, like you got to think of me in like Mortal Kombat level. Like I'm Goro. You know what I mean? You get past me in the shit talking, you're on the final level. You know, on the final fucking level, my mouth can go. And everybody knows I've been on. So, uh, my co-host, what gives him the authority to talk about this? Well, he went he went gold under the name Closed Keith Cockatoo. Hey Diggy, my co-host. Thank you for joining me. This is the heart of what we do, Kay. This is
Yeah,
it.
man.
Some of these podcasts, like their comfort zone is talking about Ghostface Killer, or their comfort zone is talking about, uh, you know, the '90s rap music. Talking about Biggie or whatever, and our comfort zone is nestled right in this area, R&B, soul, music. So
Yeah, man.
what we came here for, and we sneak it in. You know what I mean? The audience is most likely, you know, in cipher hats, in hats a lot like mine, uh, you waiting for just to break down bars. But this one's for us. So this is about the nature of the erotic album, uh, and using Janelle Monae's "The Age of Pleasure,"
Mm.
jumping off, right? I want to start it, Kay. Put up a poll today. It is not closed, right? It's still got some hours to go, but it, I asked how people were feeling, right?
About the Janelle Monae?
Did Monet Age of Pleasure album?
Okay.
10.5% said it's not good.
Okay. Wow,
10,
zero point 0.5. So half a person said
10.5. Yep. So no, we're 19 votes. I got 19 votes here. So
okay.
10.5% said not good. 10.5 said it's a wonderful album. 78.9% said it is all right.
Mm.
So that's just taking the temperature of my feed in advance of this to see how everybody's feeling. So
Hmm.
so how are you feeling about the Age of Pleasure?
I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, of all the Janelle Monae projects that I've heard, this one was probably the one that I liked the most. And there were a couple songs that I replayed pretty heavily last week when it came out. So I mean, I think it's a really solid project all around.
Mm, solid. I would, yeah. I mean, what I want to say, because I am going to be critical at points here.
Hmm.
But people need to know Janelle Monae is a very important artist to me.
Hmm.
Uh, Janelle Monae has made songs that my entire family dances to in the car, right? Like Janelle Monae has made songs that I could get in discussions with people at the office about. You know what I mean? And like has impacted my life, right? Um, in a major way, and so this is not my favorite Janelle Monae album, but um, it's not a bad album.
No.
Which I think makes it an interesting study. Okay, because usually the margins don't have room for this album, right? Like you're either game changing or you're terrible, but a lot of times these kind of albums are gone in a week. No one talks about them for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. There's moments.
And they're and if it's a mid moment from a major artist, they just go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kalani released a really good album, I thought, that bricked and just went away. You know, this stuff happens.
I mean, it's really hard to get. It's hard to get and keep people's attention in today's climate, musical climate.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, this and this album had to live up to that cover.
Yeah, the cover and the tweet. She sent like a tweet, or
Mm-hmm.
she had that video that kind of, it didn't break the internet, but it did. The internet perked up, I guess you could say.
It was popping. People were excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's an interesting, because, and it's also it's to be noted, this is her entrance into the 30-minute album, right?
Oh, really? Yeah. How long? Wow. It's only 30 minutes.
32 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
didn't know.
32 minutes long, and I could feel that limit. Like I could feel how that it was kind of short. Like
Right. It
it's
moves quickly. It does.
yeah.
You're right.
Now the last album, Dirty Computer, is 48 minutes, 42 seconds.
Okay. Wow. She cut
So
16 minutes. She cut it in. Wow. Okay.
so this is her entrance to like the 30-minute album era. And I understood why. Um, but yeah. So, and do you think so? What do you think the mission for this album is? Now that you've heard it, studied it, what do you think it was trying to do?
I mean, I think it was definitely trying to introduce a more sensual side to her. Because she was known. What was the album before this? Was Dirty Computer.
Right, Dirty Computer. Yep, yep, yep.
So she's always been, or I shouldn't say she, I maybe she's perceives herself as being perceived as being like that androgynous type of artist, almost in the vein of Prince. Because isn't Prince was the one who discovered her, right?
Yeah, I think. Well, and they worked together on
Right.
Electric Lady and everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
There's
Or
Prince connections.
gave her, maybe not discover her, but gave her the cosign.
I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I think he did that for a few people.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think she was, when she came out, she was always seen in that kind of vein as being androgynous, like, feminine but masculine as well. So I think this was like kind of like a departure more into the femininity of herself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. So you think that was that kind of mission statement? Do you think the album achieves what it wants?
Yeah, because I think she dipped. I don't think it was a full sensual album, but she dipped her toe into the pool.
I'm glad you said that. It really doesn't feel all the ways like erotic. You know what I
Right,
mean? It doesn't
right,
feel that. And I was thinking like the albums I've known that are erotic albums have moments where you feel like maybe you shouldn't be looking, right? Like it's just like,
yeah,
oh, should I even be knowing this? Like
right,
that's the albums go in a place you're not used to being with somebody.
right, right. Yeah, I think of what's Madonna's album, Bedtime Stories. Is that,
Yeah, bedtime stories.
like an album like that? Like she's leaning fully into it. And I think Janelle Monae. I think with the like the cover, and then the cover, and then the introductory tweet and visuals that she released for it. You could tell, like, look, you could tell that she wanted to be sensual, but at the same time, she wanted to keep her, I guess you could say, artistic credibility as well. Because sometimes when you go like erotic like that, it overshadows the music in a lot of ways and it becomes gimmicky. But I think she wanted to say, yes, I can be sensual, but at the same time, like I'm a top level musician as well.
Yeah, I mean it's and she wanted bangers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like she obviously wanted bangers. She wanted to enter the scene um real pop, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's what happened. Oh, so this is a weird album to make. Okay? I'm still wrapping my head around it. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I guess I had a couple first reactions,
Okay.
and you tell me if these are mean or
Oh gosh.
they're um
Anytime someone says, please tell me if these are mean, that's not.
myself being mean. I'll be honest because I'm very comfortable in that. Say my first one of my first reactions was, "Oh, this is reggae, but it's like resort reggae."
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
This plays at the outside bar of the resort. You know what I mean?
Yeah, by the pool. You're right, but the bar by the pool, and you have.
There's there's an old dude who owns a car company, and there's his son. You know what I'm saying? And they're all it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was my first thing. I was like, ooh, this is resort reggae. And then I was like, I wonder if I'm going to be cool with that. And by the end, I don't think it was. I think it's, it's the kind of reggae that just has no teeth in it at all. And
Right.
that was like, it's almost like maybe this is going to get to me. The resort reggae, like equivalent to the smooth jazz that drives me nuts.
You're right because there was no like with reggae. There's a little bit of an edge to it. You know what I mean? There's a little bite. There wasn't a lot of bite to this.
Yep.
And first of all, I love some of the arrangements of the songs for sure. But it never, and I don't know how to explain this, but it never pushed past that point to me where there was almost risky or almost, what's the word I want to use? Like like I said, there was no bite to it.
No bite to it. And I was, and that's the problem with me being mean to an album case. A lot of times I hit it in the face, and it's true. Like it because I'm not sassy or emotional. I'm not getting my jokes off. Like I'm
Right.
just this is real. Like if if you hear float is the whole album.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, you have float. I'm not sure what else you need. Float, like it never gets beyond float. It never builds from float.
Yeah, I think that the color palette, like, because as I said, she wanted to be sensual, but at the same time, she has a specific color palette musically that she uses.
Right.
She has a sound that she's really established, and you can hear it. And I think she wanted to adhere to that sound, but at the same time go to this new direction, and it kind of, you could tell, sense there was a little bit of tension in between the two.
We will talk about her directions and where
Mm-hmm.
she's going. The second reaction, right, that I had on first listen is there was kind of an oof and I was like, oof, these songs are built to dance to. These songs are built with choreography in mind.
Yeah.
These songs are like hate and pleasure, like this is a very Rihanna like Beyonce like mode. This album in terms of the song foundation.
I would say early Rihanna, early Beyonce.
Yeah. This is like I want
Like
that. Yeah,
Pawn the Replay, SOS Rihanna.
bang. Yep.
Um,
Simplified. These songs are kind of simplified, right? They're big repetitive hooks.
yeah.
Uh, you can see the choreography to this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it kind of draws back to I forgot what guest we were talking with months ago, and you said there's some albums that are made to be toured on.
Yeah, Were we talking about 2 Chainz?
Yes, that's who. Yes, that's who it
Yeah,
was.
we were
Right.
talking about 2
He
Chainz.
said like, and we were in the guest. I forgot who it was. The guest was like, yeah, like this may not sound good in the car, but when you hear it in a stadium or in a concert at a concert, it makes sense. And
Yeah,
I bet this album was made to tour on.
yeah,
And I bet it sounds a whole lot different in a stadium.
absolutely, absolutely. And this is where we'll go. We go into the history, right?
Mhm.
You really can't find a good comparison for the arc of Janelle Monae's career, right? And I'll give you the reason why. Uh,
Okay.
by, by the way, I thought Big Boy was the one who discovered. Wasn't she
Was it Big Boy?
the first major feature was on Sir Lucius Left Foot, right? What year was
Maybe.
Left? 2010 was Sir Lucius Left Foot. Was she on that? Yeah, yeah. So that was 2010, and her debut is maybe that was after. Okay. Maybe I don't know things. Yeah, 2010 was and Arc Android. So
Yeah, you're right. Big Boy.
yeah, I first heard about her with the Big Boy stuff. It was like,
Right.
wow, okay, let me check that out. But Arc Android also had a crazy buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very well reviewed album. You know what I mean?
Right.
8.5 in Pitchfork. You know, yeah, favorable reviews everywhere. Spin, Rolling Stone. Um, everybody was talking about this album,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess it definitely putting it within that Afrofuturism run.
Yeah.
Uh, the reason why it's hard to compare her is because Arc Android is over an hour long, and it's like a concept album.
Mm.
Concept album. You know, Sir Green Down, Neon Valley Street. It has these overtures and suites, Um, but it also has big songs, Tightrope, Come Alive. Um, it was a big, vast conceptual album that you didn't really need to know the concept of too well. You could
Mm-hmm.
just back that shit because it had fun songs on it. So she comes from hyper like conceptual, cohesive albums, right?
Right.
Her early stuff is all like that. It's very intense. And then 2013, my favorite Janelle Monae album, The Electric Lady, is more pop and more soul, certainly. But it's also within the scope of building on those themes. still with the overtures and suites. Uh,
Mhm.
Still references the main character from the last album on skits and things. Dance Apocalyptic. Um, it's very, yeah, it's very dialed in and still got a lot of love. 8.3 Pitchfork, all that stuff. Um, so if she sounds like, early Rihanna now, it's not because she's regressing. It's because she has grown to a space where she no longer needs these vast conceptual trappings.
I mean, her profile has risen a lot in the last year. I know she was in the Knives Out 2 sequel.
I mean, she worked with Brian Wilson on her last album.
Yeah,
Brian Wilson and Zoe Kravitz, dude. Like, this
yeah,
is not everybody gets to do that.
yes.
Uh,
And
yeah,
so she is, I mean, she's like a legit B-list, A-list celebrity right now.
right. She was sixth on the charts last time she dropped Dirty Computer. And did she win awards for that? I feel like there may have been awards.
I know she performed on the Grammys, so she must have.
Oh, it was nominated for Album of the Year,
Mhm.
uh, for the 61st Grammy Awards. So this is not, she's definitely gotten big, and I think at a certain point wanted to stop being the robot lady from the first album,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Yeah, I mean, and that was her. That I get. I'm guessing that's how she was perceived, as the weird robot lady.
Right. When you androgynous, you said androgynous.
Yes.
I like, oh, that's part of the story, but the other half is like you built this entire world
Hmm.
and you continued it, right? I mean, dude, last album's called Dirty Computer,
Yeah.
right? So, uh, the ArchAndroid, then we go to Electric Lady, the Dirty Computer, and she's like, "Where do I park this thing?
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here." So, and now in between, I think the Dirty Computer and now, Dirty Computer was like 2018 or something.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And
yeah, go ahead.
oh, no, finish your thought.
So, in between 2018 and now, she's become a big movie star.
Yeah.
And like in movies that are nominated for Oscars and stuff like that,
Yep.
right?
Hidden
Um,
Figures too.
Hidden Figures, right? So she's a legit movie star at this point,
Hmm.
and so she moved on from it. She's doing a different thing. So this is the first album free of that world.
Yeah.
You know, Growing pains are natural.
You know what this remind? And I wanted this album reminded me a lot of, what is it, 85 to South, the Jadena album.
Oh, okay,
Now, when
okay.
did that come out? Was that 2018 or 19?
I feel like that was 19. I feel like that was 19. I love that album.
Because just the way it just reminded me in
85 to
terms of
Africa. Yep. 85 to Africa 2019.
85 to Africa. Yeah. I mean, this album was in the vein, almost like not a continuation of it, but it's like that album's cousin to
Well,
me.
and they are kind of like she put on Jadena, right? Like Jadena's biggest hit was that classic man. That was on a compilation of her label, Wonderland. He
Wow.
writes with her and stuff. Yeah, yeah. They,
See,
they're
that would make sense.
they work together.
That, like, that buoyancy, like that color palette in terms of what, the instrumentation, it's very similar.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And shout out Def C was talking about the Janelle Monae album and said her rapping is quite good. And I think that is correct. I think on this, her rapping is quite good. In not just technically like she's killing me with the flows. It's very good. It gets the message across, and it doesn't mess up the mood of the album.
No.
Right? She delivers within the color palette that she wants to paint with.
Yeah.
So that's kudos to her. And yeah, so that's an interesting deal. And that's where she comes from, and it's just a unique journey. And I wanted to respect that because that's not where most people come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people's first album is like the label album where they control everything, and then they get to make the albums they want, right?
Yeah.
And she kind of came out of nowhere with this huge, crazy concept album, and had to work backwards from it.
Yeah.
She has natural pop tendencies.
For sure. Yeah.
She is not like going to stay underground. That was never something she was going to do.
Right.
And Dirty Computer, I mean, Make Me Feel is the kind of the biggest, craziest song I think she's ever done.
Mm-hmm.
That song was just dominant. So yeah, I mean, I still think Electric Lady is the best of the thing. And it's got some amazing stuff on it. But the other thing, so we should talk about the difference between romantic albums and sensual albums. Right?
Okay.
Romantic and erotic albums are kind of divergent and different. Do you have any album you can think of that's an example of this?
Of what?
Of the difference between the two, like an erotic album that made you realize, oh, this isn't really about love. This isn't like this is about something else.
I mean, the ones that come to mind is definitely definitely Madonna bedtime stories. And then erotic. I think it's difficult because I guess you'd have to go back to Jasmine Sullivan's album.
Ooh, Hotels.
But there's not a lot of, in my opinion, it's really difficult to do an erotic album.
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Yeah.
And like I think of a sensual, I think of what would be like Usher had an album, Here I Stand.
Oh, okay.
It was like about a decade ago. It was when he was with his first wife. That was kind of dedicated. Like I think of Here I Stand, and what's that? What's the Marvin Gaye one that you and I like?
I like a lot of them.
It has what is that song? Now it's gonna be bothering me. It's the one Kendrick sampled. Kendrick sampled a song off of it.
Are you talking about the Divorce album or no?
No. Stay With Me. Come Live With Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Live with me.
Want to be your lover.
I Want You. I think it's I Want You.
Yeah. So let's talk about that album, because that album was one of the first albums I knew was erotic. Like, that to me is an erotic album, right?
I Want You?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's 1976, Marvin Gaye, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he this perfect, beautiful explanation of consent. Like, I want you, but I want you to want me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
interesting. So you think that's erotic? Well, yeah, there were some erotic moments for sure.
And I think so. To me, that album is about it's about the excitement you feel when you're about to have sex with someone. Like when you can feel the energy changing, when you can feel that there's a connection starting. And that's why, like, I was re-listening to this album for this, because I knew I was going to talk about it. And I think After the Dance is my favorite Marvin Gaye song ever.
Mm.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful idea of, like, find me after the dance, let's get together after the dance.
So you think erotic deals with more the beginning part of the relationship, the courting,
the drive towards the act, you know what I mean? The feel of it. So let me give you an easier explanation, right?
Okay.
So, romantic R&B. What is romantic R&B? Well, romantic R&B is Babyface. It is Mariah, right? Mariah always sings a romantic fantasy, right? She sings how she wants things to be, right? Babyface is like the flower petals on the bed and shit. You know what I mean? That's Babyface's vibe, right? Then, like, if you watch those, the early Tony Braxton stuff with Babyface is very, like, kind of in a garden,
Right.
Is romantic imagery. Let's fall in love, right? Let's be together. Janet is an example of erotic R&B. Janet is talking about sensations, right? She's talking about feelings. Dance close to me, right? Like, she's talking about how it feels when you're together, energy that connects to create a relation to each other that no one else can have.
Right. That's a good way to break it down.
So to me, that's the difference between those two kinds of albums, right? One is classic, the sonnet, right? It's a classic love letter to someone or something, Your Guy, Robin Thicke, and his beautiful stalkery love letter to the lady who divorced him. You remember that?
Yeah, what he named? He named it Paula, right? So she wouldn't.
Woo!
So she wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, she was gonna miss it otherwise. For naming that Paula. Ooh, good for her. Yeah, I was listening to a rapper, Rob 49, and he was in a song, and he said, they busted my uncle, but I'm kind of happy because he was out there crazy in those streets, something to that effect. And I was like, God, what a rough listen for your uncle. Somebody taps your uncle on the shoulder in the cell and is just like, hey, are you related to Rob 49? And he's going to play him the joint. He's like, damn, this is my intervention.
It's your own nephew.
Yeah,
it's your own people.
Own people. Crazy, yeah. It's I worry that you're going to become a superstar and drop those kind of things. Just be like, Dano was cool except his ugly ass toes. I'm like, what did I do to you?
Never.
Like, that's another episode of just like the crazy sneak dissing. But no, those are erotic albums. What I realized about them when I was listening to a bunch of them is that the cohesion is critical. Absolutely critical. It's probably number one. If you're going to make an erotic album, everything needs to flow into everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing when you're trying to seduce someone. All it takes is one moment of like, the spell breaking, and they're out of it.
Feel the vibe. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. So I think that's absolutely great. A great point. The yeah, no, and it we talked about a lot of them have teeth to them, right? Madonna's
but
sex albums were shocking, right?
yeah,
Erotica is her most famous crazy. That's the one that kind of got banned, and that's like a dirty dance album.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun and spawned one of the worst Jay-Z songs ever. Um, ooh, but Justify My Thug. But the Prince, you have to bring Prince into this.
Yeah.
So I listened to Come, which is amazing.
You listen to what?
The album's called Come, Come.
Oh, okay.
That is the album, sir. And it is an album he made because his label was saying you still owe us an album. You can't leave until you give us an album. So he made an album called Come, with the title track called Come, um, about making a girl come, and he made the album this just very fuck you label erotic album, and it's known because everybody knows the context of the label thing. It's known as a not good album, because everybody's like he just wanted to get out of the contract.
Right.
I Fascinating album. Um, it's really interesting, and you can tell he's pushing it. He's pushing it, and the thing about Prince, he was so good. He understood that talking about sex like sex is about a mixture of control. So there's songs like "Come" where he's like, "I'm in charge and I'm going to make you come," right? But there's also songs. A lot of his songs are about women that blew his mind,
Mm.
women that dominated him, and it was like, man, this lady was wild. And there's a story about these women that had him hypnotized, and so he understood the give and take of
Right.
that relational thing, um, humanity, you know, humanity of that back.
You're right, and I like that you brought up that point because the erotic album, it's not just about the person who's singing it. It's about their needs. It's also it you also have to embody, and we have to get a good idea of what the person is pursuing, or
Right,
that person, the person is pursuing, the singer is pursuing.
right. And I think that's maybe one of the things we've already probably talked about. Two things that I think the Age of Pleasure is missing, right?
Mhm.
First, the cohesion. There's songs I don't understand why they're on this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that I just didn't need. And there's songs are that don't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to get a legendary person like Sister Nancy and then have her for a minute and 9 seconds. What are we
Yeah.
doing? Why why is that the case? Like that song needed to be more, you know? Um yeah. So those kind of decisions are weird. Um but also there's a sense that like this song is about Janelle Monae telling me that she was pretty, and I already knew she was.
Mm.
What is it? Champagne shit? I like champagne shit, by the way. Champagne shit is like Float Part 2. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't know if it was Champagne Sheet or another song where she was like, um, you know, I look in the mirror and turn myself on by looking at myself or something. Um,
Right.
and I was like, is this like what do I do with this information?
Well, I mean, I can see it is supposed to be like a self affirmation album, like
Yes, yes.
uh, but at the same but at the same time, right? I think I think the what's the name of the album again? The Age of Pleasure.
Age of Pleasure.
That and we've talked about this before. Like the album title is the mission statement. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
when you have an album title called Age of Pleasure, I'm going to be listening to every song under that context. So it's gotta be very focused. And you like the album and the songs have to be very focused under the premise. And I think like some like the self-love, erotic love, maybe romantic love that she's like singing about on this album, it's a little bit too unfocused for me.
Right. Well, yeah, or like there is a it is very popular uh to have these self-affirming pop albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like these have become very like important with Lizzo and and all these like it's very important.
Right.
It's good representationally, right? To have albums that make young black women feel good. Like that's awesome. Fuck yeah.
Black women and any women, any woman.
Right.
Right.
Anyone, right? Anybody, really. Just
Right.
like make you feel good. Although Nazis, I don't want you to feel good. Ha ha! Ha ha! That's right. Dan's unfair to Nazis. So, but so the thing about it is, if you do that, and this is your self affirmation. This is the age of pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
and talking about like pleasuring yourself to yourself, where you're talking about how good you look as you're having sex with people. Like I can't see any other characters in the story. You've got the camera on yourself.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there watching you, and I'm like, yeah, I know you look good. I saw the cover. You know, you did float. Float is awesome. I got it. But where are you taking us next?
Yeah.
You know, where are you taking us next? Um, and I don't know, dude. I don't know if we got there.
No.
You know, I don't know if we got there.
No, because I don't think she fully. You right. She tried to have. To me, she just tried to have her. She tried to have her cake and eat it too.
Mhm.
Uh, she should have committed because she wanted to take a risk, but she didn't. She didn't go as far as she needed to go. Like she didn't. Like she wanted to like. I guess dive off the diving board, but she wanted to have one foot still on it. To me, it just
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
She just didn't go as far as she needed to go, in my
I
opinion.
I didn't really need water slide. Water slide could go, and I would not miss it. Um, I love Dochi, but I don't really need phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal is the peak of like I'm doing the the stadium album with kind of the Beyonce background singers. You know, we're all gonna do the one fist over here together. You know what I mean? We're all gonna go with the other fist too. It's gonna be great. So I don't know. I needed the French 75 to be longer. To be honest, I need more of it.
Right.
You know,
I loved No Better. I did like the CK song. The song she did with CK. That was probably my favorite off of the album.
let me give you my favorite, and this is an
Okay.
interesting. I absolutely adore a dry red.
The last song.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
What do you like about it?
First of all, the tempo changes, right? Like we've been in that float tempo, that champagne shit tempo,
Hmm.
pain and pleasure, water slide. Those songs all feel like they're in the same tempo, like they're the
Hmm.
same kind of song.
Hmm.
Uh, we're still outside at the outdoor resort bar, and a dry red feels like a conversation after the bar is closed in the room.
Mm.
It feels like you're sharing glasses of wine in the room and it's conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'll have to take a listen under that context.
Let me give you an example. I was trying to think of an album, trying to think of my favorite erotic albums because I wanted to try and interrogate myself and say, what did you want this album to be? You know?
Hmm.
Um, Velvet Rope was the answer.
Ooh.
Velvet Rope is the answer. Velvet Rope is an so Velvet Rope's impossibly long. It's an hour and 15 minutes long. It's insane, but I wouldn't change a second. I wouldn't change a second. It is one of the best paced albums in the history of R&B, um, from the skits to everything. But
Yeah.
think about Velvet Rope. You know Velvet Rope. I know Velvet Rope, right?
Yes.
Let me give you some interesting angles on it, right? How many different tempos do we have on Velvet?
Oh, I mean,
We got the angry Janet, right? With you and with the other song, uh, maybe.
oh, I mean, Velvet Rope is a
Yeah.
modern
What
day
about? What about?
masterpiece.
What
What
about?
about, yeah,
What
which is
about
like,
you? You angry Janet. You get dance floor Janet, right? Go deep. You
that's it.
get all that. So go deep is like the feeling of really cutting loose and getting together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you get quiet, contemplative Janet. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
get tonight's the night, anything, right?
Oh, what's the
Um,
song?
you get
No.
she makes it a
Get So Lonely.
yes. She makes it a hush. She makes it a conversation. She de-escalates, right? So it shifts up, it shifts down. You get and along the way, you get all the emotions of Janet. You get to know how she reacts to different stimulus. You get
Hmm.
to understand the person. And that's what was missing here. Since you're in the same tempo, and since you're telling me about how great you're doing in sex, I don't know anything about how you're really feeling or what you're going through. I don't know what drives you. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Once you're hearing Janet, you hear her masturbate and call people and masturbate, and then you get into I Get Lonely, and it makes so much fucking sense.
and I think what that draws to mind to me is one, I think Velvet Rope, there was a level of sophistication to it. Uh I think the color palette was a little bit darker. And then I think the big point is I think who that album was executive produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
believe
they
that was their yeah. Yep.
yeah, I mean, you have to have someone.
Yep.
It's hard when you're talented enough that you can do it yourself. It's it's hard to make an album like the Velvet Rope because you need like an executive producer. You need outside influences to come in and really help mold the sound, mold your vision.
I mean, and people could say that's unfair. You can't compare like this album to a classic album. I guess my response would be why not, right? Just in the
Right.
sense that does Janelle Monae have comparable resources to Janet in '97? Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, uh, so it's she.
Talented. There's not a talent level deficiency either. Like
No, she's a worldwide superstar. She has a bigger vocal range than Janet, right?
easily.
Uh,
Yep.
so there's no like. It's just that Janet like was so holistic and organic about her sexuality. She wanted it to be a functional, moving part of the music, so
Mm-hmm.
that when she went angry, you would know why, and you would
Right.
care, right? You always cared about her moving through that situation.
Yeah.
So it never felt like needless sex, you know.
Right.
And that's why, like, when we talk about erotic music, like WAP is not erotic, um, and nothing wrong with it, right? Body is not erotic, like body, yada yada. It's like that calling that erotic would be like calling Two Live Crew erotic. It's not. It's just
Mm.
it's fun. It's cool. I listen to it. I enjoy all those artists, but it's not erotic because it doesn't transport you there. It's not even worried about transport. It's not the
Right.
mission, right?
Right.
When in the same way, when a male rapper name checks his sex as like being super good, he's not being erotic. He's just kind of bragging about how good he is at
Right.
sex. Um, and so that applies here.
And and like you said, the erotic is about the seduction. Like to go back to Marvin Gaye, "I Want You." You know, it's almost like, yeah, he's talking about what he wants, but he's almost presenting himself as like a solution to this other person's problems. Like, look, baby, this is what you need. Let me show you how I can be what you need and why it's good for you. uh and that's a level, that's kind of what's missing in the eroticism, because eroticism is not just about like the sensuality, about the physical. There's also about, like I said, seduction, and in terms of empathy, in a way, like, I know what you need and this is how I can be what you need.
Right.
That's higher level eroticism. That's when it's like really, that's when it's like very memorable and well done, in my opinion.
And I think that's like we we smash cut to like if you said to us like what is the last great erotic album, right? In this genre, I I would point to Hotels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like Hotels was so well executed because Jasmine Sullivan was beloved as a very classic kind of neo soul singer.
Yeah.
Um, and for her to go full into the sexuality was going to be hard. It was going to be difficult. So she pulled in all these voices.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Hotels is 32 minutes.
Wow.
Bang. And it's got, you know, great song with her, great song with Anderson Paak, Ari Lennox is on there. It's just it's such a good deal. Lost One is awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the sequencing is great.
Yeah.
Rashida's tale into Lost One is really dope. Um, yeah, I just
It's very focused to me, in my opinion. Not only is it focused, but it was also the organization. Like you said, the they have the mission statement, like the album title, Hotels, and then they build on that. They build on that statement, that thesis,
Yep.
and it doesn't lose track. It stays focused, and then you look up, and the album's finished.
And I think what your point, Kay, building on your point, the reason why you can feel so Jasmine Sullivan understands the stakes of hotels.
Mm-hmm.
She understands that if she messes this up, it's a huge step back.
Mm-hmm.
You make a bad erotic album, ooh,
Yeah. That leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
you go erotic and then mess it up, and then what do you do after that?
Well,
You know, Charles Hamilton makes a super erotic album where you can feel the sweat, and it doesn't work. And then what does he go back to? You know,
right.
sweet, sweet soul singing. Like it's gonna be hard to ring that bell, dude. Like, um,
Yeah, and that's why it's a risk. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Janelle Monae, she knew it as well. Like, it's a risk if you don't pull it off. If you commit to it fully and you don't pull it off, it's going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
oh my gosh, I said Charles Hamilton, and I meant Anthony Hamilton. That is hilarious. Do you know who Charles Hamilton is?
The rapper, right?
That is very funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Weird
knew who you meant.
mixtape
I did
rapper.
picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Correction. That was a correction. Good deal. But yeah, what were you saying? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying it's a risk because if you, as you said, if you go for it and you don't pull it off, it's kind of hard to recover. But to really pull it off, you have to commit to it.
Right, and you have to be fully invested, and you
Right.
can really hear the level of investment, right? And that's
Right.
one of the things I was thinking about with Janet, who is just one of my favorite artists, right?
Yeah.
I was known around the office as the Janet guy. Like that was what I was known. And so they were like as whether the albums are fantastic or not fantastic, whether it's the best in her catalog or not, it's always got her whole heart in it.
Mhm.
Every album with her name on it
Mhm.
has her whole heart in it from where she was at that time, whether she was marrying her hairdresser or with Jermaine Dupri or whatever she was doing, her whole heart was in that album. She's over years and years and decades. That is hard to do, man. That is hard to do. And she did it. And that's what makes that connection even more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt, and maybe this kind of goes back to Janelle Monae as well. Everything Janet did felt or feels authentic.
Sincere. Yep.
Yeah, like Janet, it's almost, I don't want to, it's this is gonna sound mean, but it's when you name your album Age of Pleasure, it's almost gimmicky. It's almost like you're saying, okay, this is my erotic, this is my sensual album.
Right.
Take a listen to it. And the real albums don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
and
sorry, the real erotic album, like Janet would never have to do that, like saying, okay, Velvet Rope, this is the erotic album.
and it's possible that what you said is mean, and I'm not detecting it because I'm very mean. But no, but there is an instinct because she comes from concept albums, right?
Right.
That like, what if this is just another concept album?
Right.
And this is just another characterization? So and if it is, I'm totally cool with you doing whatever concept album you want. But this is kind of like the drawing of the comic book character when they didn't draw the city behind him. You gave me the main character, I get it, but I don't know what the story is.
Right.
Really draw the buildings and the people and the signs and the
Right.
cars. And you need that. If you want me
Right.
to in this place, you need to do the whole place, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just came off. Yeah, it almost came off too polished and calculated to me. But it's funny because like it's only when I compare it to other albums that I get that feeling. Like listening to it, it was fine. But when I put it in the context of like you said, a Janet Jackson, I start to see where some of the flaws and some of the weaknesses and where it doesn't really hold up for me.
Yeah. No, I mean it's and I want to say like this is a natural danger. Like we talked about, I talked here on the show a little bit about reggae and about like the cool thing about reggae right now is there's a lot of warmth in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
talk about that last Protege album, or with Alexander Richter brought that one up. Like, there's a lot of warmth in the sound. There's a richness in it. If that's not done right, it's gonna feel very corny,
Yes.
very corny. If you're trying to replicate that, it's gonna sound corny. You're gonna sound like a cheesy knockoff.
Yeah. And it can come. The thing is with her sound, and then when I with Janelle Monae's sound, and then also hers. I think of her, the artist sound. It can come out very polished to me,
Yep.
almost too polished in a way that it loses like that sensuality.
Yep.
Um, and then I mean, like I think of all, yeah. It just comes off like it comes off too calculating to me.
So let's go about this and say, what do you think the album needs? What do you, if you could change stuff about the album, what would you want to take out and replace? What would you want it? How would you want it to be different?
I would need it to be more focused. I would need it to really. It's hard because when you're an artist like Janelle Monae, the bigger you get, the harder it is to take risks.
Yeah.
Uh, and she can't fully commit to what in order to pull this album. Like when you name your album Age of Pleasure, I have high expectations for it. So in order to pull that off, you're really going to have to really jump off the ledge and take risk. And she just she didn't commit to it in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, so what I guess what I would say from my end,
Okay.
like I would take out, like, this album isn't far away from being great. Like, it really isn't. Um, you take out Water Slide, you take out Pay Me in Pleasure, you take out some of these songs that are redundant, uh, and I need them replaced. And I need them replaced with songs that are personal, right? That can ground me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I also need you to tell the rest of the story.
Yes.
So think about American Gangster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you simple examples of finishing out the story, right? It Rock Boys is number 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rock Boys is the come up. It's intended to be, we did this. We're throwing the money in the air. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then Party Life, number 9, you're still celebrating, but you're not feeling good about it. Right? It's a rotten party. And then
Yeah, the party like instead of becoming an escape, it's like almost becoming something that traps you.
ignorant shit comes, and then say hello to the bad guy, referencing that scene where he's like, losing at the restaurant. and then fallen, right? Success and then fallen. Like the story has a rise, it has a fall, it has movement.
Yeah.
I need movement. So I need you to break that tempo. I need a, a I need a song that totally blows this tempo away or takes it to its natural height. I need personal song. I need changes in tempo, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you need intelligent sequencing because, like, to go back to Velvet Rope, like you said, Velvet Rope had, I mean, On and On. It had that On and On song that was
Yep.
produced by
Yep.
Q-Tip. It
Got
had
to
Go
gone.
Deep.
Yep. Yep. Got to gone.
It had what's the song she did about her friend who passed away? Every time when I look around and we gone dun, dun, feel you whatever. She had like an up
Yep.
tempo club song. And then she had I
Yep.
get so lonely. She had the angry song.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this.
And so but it was all intelligently designed so it flowed and it didn't nothing seemed out of place and the spell like you didn't there was no you like the spell was never broken.
Yep. And yes, Kay does believe in intelligent design.
Yeah.
Just look at the Grand Canyon, you know?
I yes. I mean, and I think with those type of albums, that's why it always helps to have a good outside source, like a good executive producer who really can, who's done it. Like, you know, Janet had Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, you know, Babyface, guys like that who have been there and done that. It can really give you great advice and an
Yeah.
objective ear.
And that is really the point, right? And that is what like is that's kind of grinds my gears about the album, right? What grinds my gears about the album is I get the sinking feeling that she didn't really put everything into it. You know? That like she's gonna look back on this album and go, you didn't really leave it out there on the court. She didn't
Yeah,
give everything good to this.
right. You didn't you stayed safe. And it was a superficial risk taking, obviously, with like the wet T-shirts and whatnot, and the
Sure.
videos like that. That's fine to a point. You maybe you took risk and chances in terms of your visuals, but the music was still relatively safe.
And um I just say this coming from when Electric Lady came out, I said that I think it was like Prince had died right around that time.
Mm-hmm.
I said that Janelle Monae is absolutely one of the people on the short list who have Prince level talent.
Yeah.
And could run the world for 15 years, right? Um, and so I don't want her to half-ass that talent. I don't want her to. This feels like an album you make while you're doing the movie.
Yeah.
You know, you got a lot of time in the trailer. You know, all right, cool. You know, um, so I don't
And
know. Yeah,
and Prince was he was fearless. You know, I mean, one, he created a lot of music. He was always in the lab creating, and at the same time, he was fearless. He if he had an idea, there was nothing holding him back from presenting his idea.
absolutely.
Uh, and I think there are things holding back Janelle Monae from really leaning into it and really abandoning because you know you got to think with to go back to I Want You, Marvin Gaye, like there's a longing, there's almost like an abandonment of self, like I want you so bad, this is how I want you, this is how I yearn for you.
Right.
That's a key thing of eroticism as well, like the yearning, like this is how much, this is the effect you have on me, like this is how much I need you. And there's almost an abandonment and a letting go of your ego and of all your, I don't know, your dignity in a way, because you want this thing so bad. And I never got that feeling from listening to Janelle Monae.
The feeling was like, I'm free now. I'm stretching out, right? I'm free. I'm not a robot lady. I'm a very attractive lady.
Mm.
And I am like going to take what I want in this world and I'm not going to apologize for it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, right on, that's cool. Well, like, what's next?
Mm.
Right? We did that for 2 tracks. We killed that shit.
Right.
Float, campaign shit. You killed that. It's amazing. What are we doing now? We got the rest of the album. Like, what? Like, we're just gonna keep doing this.
See, you're right. And maybe like to go back to what you said about American Gangster, maybe the problem was Float, the sequencing. Maybe Float was not the right song to start the album with.
I just think this album has some flutter on it. Like,
Right.
it's just like I said, I would. There's some songs I'd take off here.
Because you start with Float and you start with Champagne Shit. Where do you go from there? You know what
You
I
have
mean?
to let those be the bar, man. I mean, but there. I mean, Rush is great with Nia Long and uh,
Yes.
yeah. There's some songs on here, man, that are really interesting, but I don't feel like everybody's used properly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, I felt like there could have been we could have given Grace Jones something better than that.
Yeah. Oh,
But
for sure.
whatever. It's good stuff. I mean, sometimes like I would look back and go, "Oh, these people were on that song? I didn't even realize." Because the song sounded so much like the other songs, I really hadn't registered it as a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but like I said, love Janelle Monae. I'll still be banging some of these songs. They're very good. Uh,
Yes.
I bought the album, uh, direct from her site. Like, I'm supporting artists. Uh,
Yes.
so I get to talk.
And I said it's not a bad album. It's just we have uh like the people that, like you said, you expected, you said that she had the potential to be on the Prince level. With people like that and artists like that, you just hold them to a different standard. And we just like we wouldn't be having these type of conversations about rapper ABC. You know what I mean? And so it's almost a privilege uh, to be able to be discussed in this way. I think.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
just want to make it clear we're not hating on Janelle Monae in
right, totally.
any fashion.
No, never would, never will. So are you ready for some
Yeah.
recommendations? Order? So, want to shout out here. Woo! I got, I got the advance uh, ritual by Stick Figure and the Expert.
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard the Expert. I love the Expert. So does Zilla. He he's from Ireland, and he makes big badass music. A very
He's from
cool.
Ireland.
Yep, he's in Ireland, and this album is super dope. Stick goes nuts. Like, I told Stick that he brought like Black Album energy to this album.
Oh wow.
Stick was rapping like this is it, Uh, take it now. It's a heck of a project, dude. heck of a project. Yeah.
When does it come out?
16th, 2 days.
Okay.
Yep. So that thing is beautiful. Yeah. Have you been enjoying the King of Sadness, the King Cruel?
Yes. Absolutely. That's these are the Janelle Monae and then King Cruel are the only albums that I've been bumping this week.
It's wild, man. The June 20th, by the way,
Okay.
Sinatra and Televangel, Incorruptible Soul Saints.
Is that Tuesday? Is that on Tuesday? Wow.
Yep, 20th.
Yeah. 20th. Well, okay.
Yep. There's all so that one's out there. That one's dope. Let me do. Have you heard? So two former guests have united. Old Grape God and Big Flowers.
Wow.
So Big Flowers produced an album for Old Grape God, and it's called "I Turned the Room to a Lava Lamp." Came out June 8th. It's so damn fun, dude.
Okay. I like both of those. Both of those guys are really fun.
This is like
So.
this is like the first Old Grape God album that has like soul sample kind of anywhere near conventional stuff in terms of production. And so that's real dope. And it's really interesting to hear him fit himself around that.
All right.
Yeah, man. The have you seen the American Born Chinese show?
No. What's the name? Born Supremacy.
Yeah.
Born. Okay.
Born like your favorite album, Born Sinner. But yeah, it's American Born Chinese.
BORN. Okay. Okay. Not BOURNE. Okay. American Born Chinese. Okay. I'm gonna. What is it about? That sounds
Disney
it sounds
Plus.
familiar.
It's Disney Plus. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
now it sounds ringing a bell. Okay.
Yeah. Check out some trailers. It's like it is a high school kung fu situation based on a graphic novel. It's real fun.
Very
Yeah.
good. I know I think Righteous Gemstones starts up again.
Well, when we were talking to the great Jade Gomez, what an interview that was.
Yeah.
She said Almost Sunny was coming back.
Yes.
I did not know that. So I watched the first episode today and I was very happy.
Okay, good. All right. I got to watch that too.
Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. And yeah, more appearances coming on the Crate 808. I just recorded an appearance about Cool Keith. Black Elvis Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got the sequel to that coming soon. Very excited about that. So it was good to dig into that one from 1999 with Cam and just have a ball with it. So subscribe to the Patreon. Get erotic.
What's new tomorrow?